Hello, this is Zachary Tremoureux. I wanted to go over what happened on between February 17th and 23rd, and what I did that week. So I did a lot of stuff earlier in the week. That week I implemented survivor deaths. Certain, so if any of the like thirst, hunger, or temperature went below a certain rate, it would kill the survivors. And then I went through and I actually started to um, update rationing menus and stuff to account for when a survivor dies and stuff. So encampment and other stuff. So the encampment menu is this. I can show you really fast, but basically the encampment menu is the it's just the status of the things at the top of the screen. So it looked different at the time, but basically it had an hourly timer and then it was starting to implement this rations system. So these are the different rations that you would get. And so these at runtime update with how many rations you have and stuff like that. But at the time it was just a number and then it would say water rations or food rations and it did not have um, wood, firewood implemented at a time. And I also had a fast forward and play button. I eventually cut the fast forward button, but that was originally what the encampment menu looked like. Um, Go back to factored the rationing system. So something that had to do over time is I'd have to keep going back to this ration menu and updating for different things that I would add or change, because rationing menu was the first thing I really tested out. So you can go to the ration menu, but it has a lot of different functions basically that too many. This is I didn't fully understand how to do it in the most optimized way, and so I had to go through and manually put a lot of the survivors in these rations. So like this one, survivor temp water rations, survivor one temp water rations. So eventually I learned that I could make a function that takes any of the survivors classes and puts it through them, and then I wouldn't have to make functions for each survivor. But at the time, I was going through and doing it manually, so it took a lot longer. And that was mainly what a lot of the refactoring and like the longer time it would take for that. So when I say I'm working on the ration menu, we're going through and I'm updating or I'm making one function and then I'm copying it over for every survivor. So since there's 5 survivors, say I had to update the hunger percent bar after someone eats their ration. Um, that was what I would do. So this one is like every time you see a water ration, it would update the hunger bar or the thirst bar or the morale for based on what rations you gave them. So it was so time consuming at the time, and eventually I figured out how to do a better version of it. But this was like the the original thing, and so it became very messy, and that's why there's so many ration menu working tasks.